Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mondays with Vish. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Vish Kumaran. How you doing, Vish?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. We have a lot to get into. We're going to talk about the fact that the Niners are still in the playoff race, their game out, where they stand, reassessing the quarterback, the safeties, the coaches. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. But first, there's breaking news. The 49ers are no longer the San Francisco 49ers. They were the Santa Clara 49ers. Now they are the Arizona 49ers. They're going to be playing their next two home games in the Cardinals Stadium. The Cardinals have graciously allowed the Niners to use it, which is really kind of nice. It's kind of like division rivals looking out for each other, because I guess the Cardinals could have been like, you know what? You're a problem. Ask Cal. Ask Oakland Technical High School or something like that. Go to Kezar. So they have a home. It's not too far away. And they haven't said where they're going to be practicing, I imagine, because you can't use the same facilities that the Cardinals are going to use. They're going to have to figure something like that out. But Vish, what is your initial thoughts of the Niners relocating to Arizona?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make a large difference on the team in terms of their performance. I think it's a good stadium. Playing in a dome might actually help them. They're very comfortable playing there. They play there 2 times a year. I think the only thing that would be worrisome is the players already talked about it yesterday is, well, how much is being away from their families for that entire week of practice and stuff going to affect the players? We'll see how that goes. And then an underrated storyline, I think, is that if Jimmy G does come back, I think this could help him a lot. For whatever reason, the guy plays his best football in the Cardinals Stadium, whether it was his best game last year or his first career start against that playoff Arizona team when people were, I think, surprised by how good he was. So very underrated kind of, joking storyline, but I think that it might help Jimmy G if he comes back.
It's funny. It's just like, it looks like the Niners, they're still in the hunt. They could make a run to the playoffs if things would just go their way. And now, they don't have a home.
Right.
They're now homeless. It's like, geez, this is really freaking hard. And is this more bad luck? Is this going to ultimately be what takes them out? They're just going to run out of energy or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it seems like it. The team seemed a little daunted. Like, I can't believe we have to do this now. But I'm looking through the schedule real quick, and I can't help but notice that the Niners have played 5 games at Levi Stadium so far this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
They played the Cardinals and lost. They played the Eagles and lost. They played the Dolphins and lost. They played the Rams and won. And they played the Packers and lost.
Mm-hmm.
So they're one. This may be a coincidence, but they're 1-4 at Levi's.
Yeah.
And they're 4-2 everywhere else. Did I do my math correctly?
Yeah, I think so.
They're 4-2 everywhere else. So maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. I don't know what it is about Levi's, but I don't know. Is there something there, Vish?
No,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's just been unfortunate. But I do think that at this point, I think this is the kind of season where everybody is facing their own set of adversity. It's just a matter of where it hits. Have the Niners faced more? Yes. But if you look at their situation now, would you rather be them or would you rather be Baltimore? So I think that for the Niners, this season is going to be about who handles it best. I think everybody's day is coming. I think Kansas City's kind of been the team that, 1, they're already excellent, and 2, they haven't had much go wrong for them, whether it's super key players, like multiple get injured, maybe one key guy misses a week or 2 like Chris Jones or Mitch Schwartz, but it's not multiple guys. But I think their day is coming. It could come in the playoffs, which is worse. So this is a season that's, I think whatever's going around is coming around for everybody. And whoever handles it best is going to ultimately win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. Whichever team wins the Super Bowl is going to be a team that has a really crazy story of things that they've gone through.
Right.
But what the optimism is for the 49ers is that maybe they got all their bad luck out of the way early. And the luck will catch up with the rest of the league. And maybe the Niners, it'll turn for them. Although having to be homeless is never good. It's not what you want.
No, it's not. It's not the best thing, but you know what? It's just another test for this team. And this team has shown that they have special character. And I think that character starts from the coaching, because they have special coaching. And it's just, I think they're going to deal with it fine. I don't think this is going to dictate anything when it comes down to the results of what happens to the Niners this season.
Yeah.
The thing that's been most impressive about the players and coaches in this current iteration of the team is that they leave it all out on the field. The outside, all of those things do not affect what happens on game day. They come there, they play their game, they lose, they win, they live with the result. So I don't think that this is their coaching, and everybody is not going to allow this to be a big story. This is just going to be another side note of another thing they overcame. And if they make it to the playoffs, it's going to be one of the better stories in Niners history.
Right. And keep in mind, it's not necessarily a bad thing that they don't get to play at Levi's anymore. 1-4 at Levi's.
Right.
Not necessarily a bad thing. This isn't going to necessarily hurt their season.
The dome might help them too, The dome might help. So
yeah, especially for, a quarterback who doesn't have arm strength. It always helps to have no wind. So
right.
Good call. All right. That's enough of that. Vish, I turn the floor to you. This is your day, Mondays with Vish. What happens basically is Vish calls me. He texts me during the game. He calls me after the game, and he calls me in the morning. And he wants to unload. And I'm like, Vish, I love everything you're saying. It's very interesting. Let's save it for the show. Let's save it. So I basically have to slow him down. Okay, Vish, go for it. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, I mean, I'm cool to talk about everything, but I think we could start from that game. What a win. What a win, Yes. And it's funny because I was throughout that game. That was like a game that probably took a couple years off my life. There's just times, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo or Nick Mullens, it's been Nick Mullens a lot this season, where when he drops back, I just feel like the years off my life are ticking before he throws the ball, because I'm scared, one, he's just going to get hit because the blocking is questionable.
It looks like your little brother out there, like, oh my God, Nick, be careful.
So there's that. Two, sometimes he holds the ball too long. And three, every game it feels like he throws 3 or 4 balls that maybe should be picked and stuff, where I go, but you know what? At the end of the day, as much as I might have sacrificed 5 years of my life because of what happened, he got the job done. He did his job. It was a phenomenally coached game, whether it's the game plan from both Kyle and Saleh, the execution of the game plan, the calls within the game. It was as good as it gets from a coaching standpoint. They made 2 excellent coaches on the other side have no answers for certain things. They did a phenomenal job all across the board with their coaching. The most impressive thing to me was that last drive. The Niners offense had kind of stuttered in the second half, and Brandon Staley, the Rams defensive coordinator, is one of the best halftime adjusters in football, and they have the best second half defense in the NFL. And Kyle kind of I think it's really underrated. I love that he just kind of took a step back on those last drives, and he goes, what works? Well, Debo Samuel is what's working. How can I get the ball to Debo Samuel? And it felt like it was more the offensive game plan rather than moving the ball. It was, let's get the ball to Debo and see what Debo can do. Mm-hmm. And I've said it before, not to toot my own horn, but the most
today is the day to toot. Toot away.
The most important player on this offense is Debo Samuel. It is Debo Samuel. I think we had this conversation. I don't know if it was live or on the phone, but you were like, yo, I don't know. I think Brandon Ayuk is already better. I said, Brandon Ayuk might be a better receiver, but Debo Samuel is the better football player. It's everything. It's not just his catching, his running. There's nothing to me that's comparable to the infectious energy that he creates when he has one of those runs. It's that effort. It's his effort. It's his will. It's everything. It galvanizes the team in ways I haven't seen any other player, not to any fault of their own, do that. It's really special. The fear that he creates when he goes in motion to set up this run game is unbelievable. He has eyes on him all the way. I think the only guy to me that can instill this much fear in a defense is Tyreek Hill. I'm going to go all the way there. I think Debo is, besides Tyreek Hill, maybe the most feared weapon in football. I mean, we are yet to see somebody stop Debo Samuel. We are yet to see that reverse, the little push pass, not be an effective part of the game. And if you're going to focus on taking that away, then they'll just run him in motion 50 times and hand it to Mostert, hand it to Jeff Wilson, and run the ball effectively. So I think Debo Samuel is an outstanding player, and I think he once again proved that he's the most important player for this offense.
I would take it further, man. I think after watching that game yesterday, I think he's the best player on the team. I think he's better than Nick Bosa when healthy. I think he's better than Fred Warner. I think he's better than George Kittle. Like what you said, like the way he runs after the catch, it has the same effect as how Kittle would used to play before he was hurt. It's the same thing, except he's even better. I mean, he's a better runner after the catch than Kittle was in his prime, and Kittle's great. And beyond that, he can play running back. He makes the quarterback's job so easy. Like Brandon Ayuk might be outperforming Debo Samuel if they were playing with like Ben Roethlisberger, someone who could really throw the ball down the field. But Debo Samuel makes playing quarterback like almost like I could do it. It's like, hey, just throw it out there behind the line of scrimmage and let him break 6 tackles. Man. I mean, his skill set is absolutely unique. I've never seen a wide receiver do the things that he does. Never.
Yeah, I mean, you threw out the comparison last year. I think
Percy Harvin.
Percy Harvin.
Yeah, definitely. He's a lot different than Percy Harvin. Yeah, he's way different. They're used the same, but he's different and he's better.
His mentality is different. He's a much tougher, more bigger football player. Better. The nickname Debo is so apropos.
Tougher. Yeah.
He's unbelievable. I think he might be my favorite player in the NFL when I really think about it. I'm hoping that we get a healthy Debo Samuel to close out the year, because at the very least, 49ers football is going to be extremely fun to watch as long as Debo Samuel plays.
And real quick, before we move on, we were talking about this on the phone. When the Niners drafted Debo Samuel, I was lukewarm about it. Not because I didn't like him, but it was a historically great wide receiver class, and everyone knew it. And everyone had their favorites. I liked A.J. Brown from Ole Miss, who went to Tennessee. And I just felt like, you're replacing Pierre Garçon. The way the Niners used him was on the play action passes over the middle, which is what A.J. Brown does. I mean, he specializes in catching that pass, breaking a tackle, and scoring a touchdown. I'm like, that's perfect. And Debo Samuel, like, he's a little smaller. He doesn't have the catch radius. That's not the best way to use Debo. I didn't see what Kyle Shanahan saw, and I didn't see the vision for using Debo. And really, that was not the wrong pick. You couldn't really go wrong. Any of those guys are great. The way that Kyle wants to formulate his offense, Debo is perfect. And it's just funny that the worst pick in that draft was the first pick of the wide receivers. The Ravens could have had anyone, and they took Hollywood Brown, who's okay. He's all right, but he's not Debo Samuel, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin.
Identity too. That's the thing. Like, he's 5'9", 170 pounds on an offense that wants to be physical first.
Yes,
he's
true.
Player. Yeah. So there's that. But not to go on a tangent, I think the thing with Debo is that I think that we're only seeing 60% of how good he is. We're only seeing one part of his game. To me, with improved quarterback play and stuff, there's a whole new dimension to Debo Samuel and his route running, because I thought he was actually a very functional receiver, especially with his quickness off the line and his hands at South Carolina. And I think there's a lot more to it that we're going to see maybe at some point down the road, because the guy.
Can you imagine if Aaron Rodgers were the quarterback of this team with Debo?
This would be the greatest offense in NFL history.
It might be amazing.
We wouldn't have healthy Kittle, healthy Debo, healthy Ayuk. Like, can we see that once? But
yes,
if we saw that, it would be the greatest offense in NFL history, in my opinion. With Rodgers, these guys, Kyle Shanahan calling plays, absolutely.
Okay, so Debo Samuel, great player. I would consider him the best player on the team. What do you want to talk about next? Do you want to stick with the offense, or do you want to stick with some I told you so's? Because you're welcome to. It's time to toot your own horn.
I told you.
Okay, let's go with the I told you so.
Apology day coming. Okay. I want to hear. I heard a little bit of the apology.
Wasn't enough, though.
It wasn't enough. My man Jimmy Ward.
All right, here we go. Let's do it. Jimmy Ward. I apologize. I said Jimmy Ward is not a playmaker. I said that while he's a solid player and a smart player and a coach's favorite, that he simply doesn't make a big enough impact to justify the contract that he got. And the fact that he got that contract is why other impact players aren't on the team. And I was hard on him. You know what? Your point was always that it's not that he's not an impact player. It's how he's used. And that's bared out throughout this season. The more that he gets involved near the line of scrimmage, the more of an impact he makes, the more of a playmaker he is. And what I would like to say is I'd like to revise my stance on Jimmy Ward. He is an impact player, as Patrick Willis tweeted last night. He is a playmaker, but I think he's best suited near the line of scrimmage. I understand you don't want to play him there all the time because he's built like a corner, but he plays like a strong safety. He's terrific in the underneath zones. He forces fumbles. He's terrific in coverage. I don't think he's necessarily an impact player playing deep in the middle of the field. That's fine. You don't have to be an impact player in every single facet of your position. Just be good in most of them. And he clearly is. Jimmy, I take it back. You're an asset to this team. And It's a good thing that they're going to have you next year and into the future. Good. I'm glad they kept it.
I very much appreciate this apology. I was thinking apology made day more to me than Jimmy Ward. But I mean, if you want to apologize.
I apologize to you, Vish. You've been trying to tell me. And I've been real stubborn about it. And look, Jimmy Ward was, if not the player of the game, the co-player of the game. And the person I've been trying to get to replace Jimmy Ward was really the only player on the defense who made a big mistake in that game. The only one.
Two. So, all right. First, let's talk Jimmy Ward. First, Grant, I appreciate that a lot. It's real big of you to do that, and I forgive you. I really do. I forgive you. You have my forgiveness.
Thank you. All
right. Second,
you absolved me.
With Jimmy Ward yesterday, how he was used was the key, right? He was used more near the line of scrimmage. They had him on man, sometimes against Woods and Cup. He did that. So he was kind of the enigma of where's Jimmy Ward going to be in this defense. They had him, and he was everywhere. That's where he was. He was everywhere. He was playing outstanding. I do want to push back on one point you made about the center field thing. I think there's nuance to that. I mean, if you're Ed Reed, then yeah, he's going to make plays wherever you put him. But if you put a guy in center field, like if you stick Tarvarius Moore back there and the way they play defense, you're not going to get the most out of Tarvarius Moore because his job is not to get beat over the top first. His job is to protect everybody in front of him. And so it's very difficult to make plays when you play defense that way. And the Niners it's bared out that it's an excellent way to play defense. What I would say is that with Jimmy Ward,
yeah.
With Jimmy Ward, what I will say is that that point about center field, like I think Minkah Fitzpatrick is the prime example of this. He was totally misused with Miami, and Miami has a great defensive scheme, but he didn't fit that scheme. Now he goes to Pittsburgh, and yes, he does play the center field safety, but what they do is they let Minkah Fitzpatrick be the one that picks off crossers. So the Niners defense, the way they deal with crossers is that their linebackers drop in underneath zones and drop under the crossers.
Right, because they're playing cover 3, not cover 4. Yep,
right. With the Steelers, they let Patrick jump the crossers, and if they're playing single high, they make the backside corner chase, make the 20-yard shift, and play the deeper zone. Well, Jimmy Ward doesn't do those things. So there's a lot of nuance and scheme as to how which guys make which plays. There's a lot of it. That's why the linebackers on the 49ers make a lot of plays because they're jumping under crossers. So
Okay, I feel you. And look, I'm going to give you the opportunity to gloat and to say I told you so and all that because it's you get it. You're right. All I'm saying is Jimmy Ward's been in the league a long, long time, and he had a really good game yesterday. Let's see him do it again. Before we crown him, he's been in the league a long time. Let's see him keep it going because I think he can. I'd like to see him keep it going. I don't want this to be a one-off.
The way he was used yesterday, I have no doubt.
He's going to be used the way he was used yesterday because Tartt's not coming back for a while. If the Niners make the playoffs, he might. But that's a topic for later in the show. We are going to calculate the odds. We have specific calculations with advanced algorithms. We've run the numbers, guys. Okay. Hold on. What do you want to talk about now? Because I kind of want to talk about Mullens.
Touch on more. So I want to touch on
more. Okay, let's see what the safety.
In the prime of just ripping Ward and Tartt for no reason.
Okay, you're not done. All right, let's go.
Yeah, it wasn't you actually. So what?
It was me. It was me. I want to take it.
No, it's not you though. So what you do is that you see something and you take it 10% and just put a little feeler tweet out. Then you feel it out and you put it another one, and now you go 20%. And now before you know it, you got 25 people on Twitter tweeting, bench Jimmy Ward, Tarvarius Moore is this playmaker. He's the next.
And I didn't say that. You're right.
Right. But people are talking about him like he's the next Ed Reed. And we had this question on the show, and I said, well, there's a reason he's not playing.
And I know that reason.
He took bad angles to the football when he played. He's still an inexperienced player. He needs more experience. Athletically extremely gifted, but he needs those more experience. Yesterday, the Rams offense would have been scored 3 points if it wasn't for Tarvarius Moore. He made 2 big mistakes. The first one was Cooper Kupp beats Emmanuel Mosley in man coverage. Should have been an 18-yard gain, 20-yard gain. Stopped him at midfield. Tarvarius Moore overruns it, misses the tackle. Cooper Kupp gains 40 yards or 35 yards, something like that. A lot of yards. And before you know it, guess what? The Rams have a field goal from that. When you're being a starting free safety, it's nothing against Moore, right? Very talented player. And I do see what you mean where he can make plays and stuff. But those are the little things that you have to do first before you do the secondary stuff. And then the second one was the obvious one. Everybody knew it was on him. He didn't make the tackle in the hole. What could have been a 12-yard, 13-yard run turned into a 70-yard run because he missed the tackle in the hole. Great effort from Jason Verrett. You love to see that type of compete to go run him down. That was awesome. But he didn't make the tackle in the hole. A tackle that Jimmy Ward would have made. A tackle that Jaquiski Tartt would have made. A tackle that Marcel Harris would have made. So I do think—
now I want you to say something nice about Tarvarius Moore.
Oh, I think his speed is special. I do think his speed adds something to this defense. I'm not writing him off. He was right. I like the pick when they picked him because I like guys that run 4.3. I do. And I think he's a very talented player. I just think that people went too far.
He's more than fast, though.
Right.
That's not just his whole skill set. I think
he
has shown—
he's an extremely fluid athlete.
And he has made plays. He's made mistakes. He's also made plays. He seems to have an instinctual nature about him. But you're right. His angles to the ball are almost unacceptable. And if he keeps making these mistakes, he won't be a starting safety in the league. What's intriguing about him is that he has made plays, and that I think, given how little experience he's had and how long he's been on the bench, it'll be interesting to see how the next 5 games play out, if this continues to happen, or if he fixes it. Because if he fixes it, now the Niners got a nice starting safety for 2021.
My argument is not to write off Moore. He's absolutely not a bust. He's got tons of talent. He just needs experience and reps. It's more just a point to show that, hey, Ward and Tartt have been doing this for years, and they've been really good at it. And it's just subtler things and details that people haven't noticed. It's probably something that Moore is going to improve at. I have no doubt about it. They're a very well-coached team. I'm sure they're harping on it with Moore. He's very talented, so there's nothing physically limiting him. Like Marcel Harris, came off the Achilles. He's not as fluid or as gifted athletically as Tarvarius Moore. Tarvarius Moore is one of the most athletically gifted players on the team.
Thank you.
So he's gonna get there at some point. There's just ways to go for him. I just think those ways were not realized. And I just wanted to point out to those that thought that my man was Ed Reed when he was going to just come in and replace Ward and Tartt. There's ways to go.
Real quick, though, before we move on, in that spirit, I'd like to apologize to Jaquiski Tartt, who I never really have anything nice to say about him, although I like him more than I think my coverage indicates. And I don't know why I tend to be so hard on him. So, Jaquiski, I apologize. You're a good player. The Niners really would have gave up 3 points and scored 7 on defense if you had been in this game. So apologize to you. Good call. Although, you've had your, but I'm not going to say that. Apologize to you. Good stuff, Jaquiski. And I hope that either the Niners find some cap space to bring you back next year, or you get to go somewhere and have like a great second act to your career. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can we talk about Mullens now? I have a lot to say about Mullens.
We got Javon Kinlaw, Richard Sherman to go.
Okay, go on. Let's go. Keep going.
All right. My man, Richard Sherman. All right. I think we had this conversation a little too much. And again, it was another Grant Cohn classic of, well, he doesn't exactly say that Richard Sherman is bad. He correctly evaluates his weaknesses.
He's not bad.
Right. He just sets up a mob of people to jump on the Sherman shouldn't play train. It's like he's the Pied Piper who leads the horse to water, but he doesn't tell the horse to drink. The horse drinks itself.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The Pied Piper.
Right. So once again, there was this random talk. I don't know where it came from. Well, Richard Sherman, he's not ready to play. He shouldn't play. He's going to hurt this defense, all of that. They played yesterday. They were as multiple in coverage as I've ever seen them. There were a lot of different things. I'm real excited to go back and watch because to me, it felt like they did a lot of different things, more than we're accustomed to seeing. So 100% credit to Robert Saleh. That was outstanding. That was awesome.
And credit to Sherman for being able to pull off this stuff.
Right. Yeah. And Brian Baldinger, I retweeted it. Go watch Brian Baldinger's breakdown of the interception. He explains it way better than I could have ever have. Go watch it. The way Richard Sherman intercepts passes is not as simple as the ball gets thrown to him. He's in position for the ball to be thrown to him. Richard Sherman, it was like Brian Baldinger did a phenomenal job. Go check it out if you can. I retweeted it.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought Richard Sherman, and then the other thing with Richard Sherman, the impact he makes, it's not that Mosley's a bad tackler. I think this might be the best tackling outside corner maybe in NFL history.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, let me talk about Richard Sherman real quick. He was terrific. The interception was great. His leadership was great. His impact was, he's a better player than Emmanuel Mosley, period. Mm-hmm. End of story. So yeah, he was a big addition to the team. But what's interesting is how Robert Saleh used him. I mean, the way Robert Saleh used him in the past was almost like he was babying him. It's like, hey, I know you're not like what you were in the past, and you can't really run. And I don't want to put you in bad positions and make you look bad. So we're just going to call zone.
Are you going to now dime safety?
Yeah, dude, they played him at safety.
Yeah, he was the dime safety. I wasn't 100% sure because I also saw Dante Johnson in there sometimes in that role. So I have to go back and really watch what was going on. But to me, it also looked like
they played him at safety. I mean, you got to give it up to both Sherman and Saleh. Saleh for approaching Sherman and be like, look, dude, the defense has changed. We're different now. Can you fit into what we're doing? And Sherman being like, hell yeah, I'm Richard Sherman, man. Let's do it. That is so cool. So cool. I don't know Richard Sherman personally. And I guess I was assuming that he would be like, hey, we got to do what I do well, you know? And he's not like that at all. He's up for any challenge, and he's a terrific player. It's what makes him a future first ballot Hall of Famer. Richard, if you're watching, I apologize. You can unblock me. You can unblock me on Twitter now, or you don't have to, whatever. It's all good, but I really respect you, and you should definitely.
The other thing was, there were also a couple plays where I saw him in the slot.
Yep.
I think it might have been on a tight end where he was manned up on a tight end. So they did a lot of different things yesterday. This is going to be a fun one to go back and watch and just kind of understand everything that was going on. But like, it was an outstanding game plan. You can't credit Robert Saleh enough. That Lions job came open, and he really put his foot down that he's the guy that needs to be hired for it. 100% of credit to him. And again, Richard Sherman is a terrific player. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I think that people need to put some more respect on the man's name.
Yeah, you know, before we move on, I think it's fair to say that of all the players who returned in this game, the most important was Debo, Sherman, and then the two running backs.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I was thinking it was going to be the two running backs, you know, and then Debo would get like a couple of targets and Sherman would come off the bench. Interesting.
To be fair to the two running backs, I think they had 27 carries between them. And their big impact was they took the 27 carries that would have gone to Jet McKinnon. No offense to Jet. The run game is just not for him, but he was good in the 2-minute drill. He had a couple of nice catches, but the run game is not for him. So I thought that impact in and of itself might be just as impactful as Sherman and Debo, but that's a little side jab. But to go, and then let's finish it off with Javon Kinlaw.
Okay.
So the thing with Javon Kinlaw is that I actually think that you haven't been overly rude to Javon Kinlaw in any way.
Good player, good athlete.
Yeah, at least from what I've heard or been on.
And I can see why he was a first-round pick. Right. You would look at that guy and be like, yeah, he's a first-round athlete. I can see that.
Right. So he's extreme. We've talked about his physical tools ad nauseum. He's so talented physically. I think the underrated thing, and once again, I think Brian Baldinger broke it down. So again, I don't want to take credit because he did a phenomenal job breaking it down. And it's something that Kinlaw, to me, I've noticed it's been something he's better than Buckner and Armstead everywhere. And they're both 6'7". He realizes at a point, well, I got two on me, or I got one and I can't beat it. And he gets into passing lanes, and he's been knocking down passes. He's been kind of disrupting the stream game. He's been very instinctive at doing
things you would expect from the 6'7" Armstead, right?
Right. Or Buckner.
True.
Never did it. But so he's been very instinctive that way. And I thought his pick was phenomenal. His return was nice, actually. He really can move for a
That's what I was going to say. Like, can we get him a spot on offense? Can he get a couple gadget plays? Like maybe a jet sweep?
And he's like diving into the end zone like he's a 6'4", 215-pound guy. Like
I swear, Harbaugh would make him a fullback. He'd make him a goal line.
Oh, for sure.
There's no doubt. Yeah.
He is some athlete. I'm so excited to see because I think as long as he does, he has limitless potential. He really does. I think it's an overstated thing with certain players, but Javon Kinlaw's physical tools really allow him to be a player with a very undefined ceiling. Like this guy the sky is really the limit for him. I'm super excited with this coaching because it's the best coaching in the NFL, from Shanahan to Saleh to Chris Kaserik to everybody. With this coaching, this system, this structure, how good he actually becomes. It's going to be an awesome watch for the next few years.
All right, before we move on, all I want to say is, yes, I'm going to give Javon Kinlaw his credit. I don't owe Javon Kinlaw an apology.
No.
Well, all I want to say is, while everyone's giving him credit and he deserves it, other people on the D-line deserve it too and aren't getting it because they weren't first-round picks. Kevin Hyder. Those two. Kevin Givens, Kerry Hyder.
Kevin Givens.
Yes, studs. And, when DJ Jones was out, I was like, you know what? DJ Jones, good player. Niners aren't going to miss a beat.
No.
Kevin Givens, just as good.
Here's what I think about DJ Jones anyway. I think he's going to price himself out of this price range.
Yeah.
The big guy that's athletic, can kind of rush the passer, and very stout against the run, gets that 3-year, $20 million contract every offseason. This last season, it was DJ Reader. Big loss for the Houston Texans defense. I think DJ Jones is going to get some medium-sized contract to go play football somewhere because he's also pretty good. But yeah, Kerry Hyder and Eric Armstead.
Let's talk Kerry Hyder for a second. Hold on, forget Eric Armstead. I love Eric Armstead. You're a great guy. But Kerry Hyder, let's give him his due, man. I mean, he's got 7.5 sacks through 11 games.
Yeah, absolutely.
He could finish the season with more sacks than Armstead and Bosa had last year. This guy's having an amazing year.
Right. And the thing with Kerry Hyder that's the most impressive thing is that this D-line actually does a decent job getting pressure, especially in yesterday's game because the Rams' offensive line without Whitworth is not that good. They do an excellent job getting pressure, but Hyder is really the guy that finishes plays. He does an awesome job of it. He's been an amazing. He's kind of saved their season, right? Because I think we kind of put a moratorium on their season week 2 when Bosa went out and it seemed like D Ford was going out for an extended period. I was like, where's the pressure going to come from?
Exactly.
But Kerry Hyder has been a godsend for this defense. He's been unbelievable.
And what's crazy about his pressure is not like it's manufactured. It's not like it's Vic Fangio like doing the tackle end stunts and he's coming in clean because the defensive tackle's holding a guard. No, he's just beating offensive tackles, left tackles, right tackles around the edge with power and strength and technique. Like, who the hell is this guy? I know he had a good season like 3 years ago, but really, who the hell is this guy? It's going to be a lot of money.
It's terrific. And the thing that's even better is that him and Armstead actually had a very nice thing yesterday where Armstead gets the initial pressure, like kind of D Ford style, and Hyder just comes in there and wraps up and finishes the play, kind of Bosa, Armstead, Buckner style from last year. I thought that was pretty sweet. Yeah, Kerry Hyder also had the play that basically won them the game yesterday in getting them the ball back on that 3rd down. So absolutely, he deserves so much credit. I think he should be maybe in the Pro Bowl conversation. There's too many DNs, but he should be in the conversation.
Then that's the key point. I think we need to start pushing this because we're the most important, famous guys in the game right now. And it's great to give Javon Kinlaw his props, but a guy like Kerry Hyder's not going to get it. And, Vish, as a young rookie in the game, what I've noticed about you is you're sensitive to players who aren't getting the media hype that they deserve. And I respect that about you. You feel that way about, Daniel Jones in New York, and you feel that way about Jaquiski Tartt here. And I think Kerry Hyder is just a perfect example. No one's talking about Kerry Hyder. Right. Let's talk about him. He's a hell of a player. He could finish with 10 sacks this season. He's really bailing the Niners out. Where would they be right now without him? Where would they be?
I know. The thing was, he brought in to be a Ronald Blair replacement. And if he replaced Ronald Blair, if he replaced Ronald Blair right on the dot, people would be extremely happy with how he played because Ronald Blair was really, really fantastic at what he did and his role for the Niners. Well, he's been Ronald Blair times 1.5. It's actually been unbelievable. I think he started off the season strong. I think his body got a little bit tired. And yesterday, coming off the bye, he looked fresh. He looked rejuvenated. And he's a hell of a run defender. Like, that's a given with him. He's a terrific run defender. And then he brings 8.5 sacks this year with that? Unbelievable.
7.5. He's one of their best players. He's actually to the point where now where we preview games, like where we talk about the Niners and the Bills, you got to actually mention Kerry Hyder. I don't think we've ever mentioned Kerry Hyder in a pregame talk. Like, how is this team going to account for Kerry Hyder? You got to now. And they have to. It's a great story. All right. okay, we've gone a half an hour and we haven't looked to the future yet. We've allowed Vish to toot his horn for 32 minutes and 56 seconds, and it was great. I was great. It was great TV. Now we need to talk about the future. There's two things. I don't know how you want to do it. We either talk about, do the Niners have a run in them, given that they're not out of it and people are coming back if they do get to the playoffs. We could start there, or we could talk about Nick Mullens. They're kind of the same topic, but a little bit different. What do you want to do first? Do you want to talk about Nick Mullens and what he did yesterday and what he's capable of doing moving forward? Or do you want to talk about the season and come back to Mullens?
We can do both. And we can also talk about, I think we also wanted to talk about the coaching too from yesterday, right? Really hard.
No, sure. That's
so
true.
We'll do all three. I guess we can start off with the future and then go.
Okay, that's fair. Because I think what people are realizing here is like, look, if the Niners can say get to 500 by maybe next week or even week 16, Jimmy could come back. Tartt could come back. If they get to the playoffs, Kittle could come back. Like this team could get to the point where they're the team they were last year, or they're the team that no one wants to face, or they're the hottest team going, and they have, championship pedigree or NFC championship pedigree. Do you see that? I mean, I don't know what the question is here. How optimistic are you about the Niners going forward? Or is this kind of just enthusiasm after an exciting win?
Right now, I tend to go with the latter. And it's only because we've seen very, very impressive statement wins from the 49ers this season at different points in this season. It's always followed up by a brutal loss that makes you write them off. And it's been so up and down, peaks and valleys. I need to see this. First, I need to see them play with a healthy roster for a couple of games. And second, I just need to see a bit more consistency before I say this team can make a run. The Super Bowl, the team that people don't want to face in the playoffs, is really tough for me to say because I think you need a guy at quarterback who's playing at a terrific level to make that kind of run, especially if you have to go on the road, regardless of how road playoff games, how
4-2 on the road.
Huh?
4-2 on the road this year. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
you're
but
right. Especially if it's road game after road game.
Right. You need a guy that's just playing out of his mind at a very high level, which remains to be seen with the Niners. I'm pleasantly optimistic. I'm gonna keep, obviously I'm gonna root for them. They're my team and everything, but I definitely want to wait a game or two before I say, well, they can absolutely make a run. Just because we saw a very impressive game from what was essentially their backup squad against the Giants. And we were like, wow, the Niners have really bounced back from week 1 against Arizona. They've really found a groove after all these injuries. And then they had a stinker versus Philly. Well, everything is okay. Then a stinker versus Miami. Then people start coming back. Ooh, the Rams game showing something. Ooh, the Patriots game showing something. Stinker versus Seattle. Then, they don't have anybody versus Green Bay. They lose. Then coming extended rest, they have this brilliant coaching game plan. The defense plays out of their mind, and they get basically what ends up being basically getting beat down by New Orleans. Now they have this great bounce back game versus the Rams. What I said prior, basically, the prior evidence would lead you to believe, well, there's going to be another stinker upcoming. So we'll see what happens. It's a tough ask. I think even 8-8 would. I think 8-8, where I think they're going to finish, would be a phenomenal coaching performance by these coaches, and maybe that gets them into the playoffs. It remains to be seen whether Arizona is going to fall off. The Bears are done, right? We can just don't talk Bears anymore. They're not making the playoffs. I'm very happy about that. Very happy about that. But the Bears not making the playoffs. Yeah. But overall, I just think we need to. I think 8-8 could get it done, but we'll have to wait and see here.
Well, I think you did a great job laying out the realistic the reasons to curb your enthusiasm, to temper your expectation. I'm going to lay out the argument for why the Niners are going to pull this off, but why they really should be optimistic more than I think a lot of fans are willing to be right now. Let's start with our previous topic, Debo Samuel, the guy who you say is the MVP of the offense, who I say is the best player on the team. The Niners are 3-0 in the last 3 games he's played. They beat the Rams at home, and then they went to New England and destroyed New England, who just beat the Cardinals. The Patriots aren't terrible. Destroyed them with Debo Samuel on the field. And it wasn't because Jimmy Garoppolo was great that day. It was because Debo Samuel was great that day. And so was Kyle Shanahan. They lose Debo Samuel. They lose 3 in a row. Debo comes back. All of a sudden, they win. The offense is good enough. The defense is still good. So, look, unless Debo Samuel is going to get hurt again and pull his hamstring, then all bets are off. But let's assume Debo plays the next 5 games and only gets, in better shape. That's good. Brandon Ayuk's coming back. That's fantastic. I mean, those two haven't really played that much together. So that's good. George Kittle, he won't come back until the playoffs if they get there. That's another discussion. But to have Mostert, Wilson, potentially Coleman, another guy who can run, and Ayuk and Debo, it's starting to look like one of the best supporting casts in the league, plus a terrific defense. Now, the offensive line is horrendous, and the quarterback is a bit of an enigma. So those are limitations. But having Debo Samuel, as we said, makes a quarterback's life easy. Having Brandon Ayuk makes a defense's job really tough to have to account for both of them. And while you're trying to account for them, now stop Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert. It's seeming like this team is gelling or coming back together at the right time.
I agree. Those are great points. All those points are absolutely right on, especially after watching yesterday's game. There's 2 problems for me. One is I still think there's a lot of pressure on this defense, right? Mm-hmm. The defense still had to score 7 points yesterday.
Gotta be perfect.
Right. And 1, this defense has Jared Goff's number. They really do. And 2, Jared Goff is a bottom 12 starting quarterback. He ranks somewhere between 20 to 32 in my estimation. He's a nice thrower.
Dude, he stinks. Oh, he's a good, so soft. He's not a good competitor. He's not tough. Boy, Jared Goff. Yep, agree. You know what? I actually would take Nick Mullens over Jared Goff. I love Jared Goff's arm, but he's so milquetoast. He's so not tough. Like, you can see it in his eyes in that game. Like, hey, if we win, it's fine. If we don't, it's fine. I just feel like Mullens inspired. I don't know what it is. He's just more of a competitor, I guess. Goff is clearly a better athlete. That's why Goff was the first pick in the draft. He has a hell of an arm, but he's so, I don't know what the word is. I'm not going to say he's just not a competitor. I don't like him. I don't like him at all. He stinks. I think he's a loser. And I think the fact that they win with him, it just speaks to how good Sean McVay is.
Okay.
Really.
Okay.
Really.
Okay. Fair. But my thing with that is this offense, they just have a propensity to turn the ball over.
Which one? The Niners?
Yes.
The Rams. Okay.
The Niners. Even yesterday, that game was coached to be a blowout, and you have mistake after mistake, and now you're in this grinded out, real ugly game where your defense basically absolutely destroyed the Rams offense. And you know what happened against the Saints, where we saw the opposite result of the defense once again destroyed the Saints offense, but the offense's inability to control the football and not turn it over, it basically lopsided the result in what was a close ball game and what was actually a ball game where their defense dominated. So for me, turning the ball over is really where I kind of draw the line, and it's real tough for me to just buy in totally because I think we have. I don't know actually whether we're that far apart in our estimations or evaluations of Nick Mullens. I think we see the same things, but I just think you say him in more positive outlook, and I say it in a more realistic outlook, or maybe a more negative. I don't know. Let's
talk Mullens. Let me ask you. We've been talking Mullens all season, but that was a not a career defining, but it was a big freaking deal for Nick Mullens. A bigger deal than his win over the Raiders. The season was on the line. He was going up against the number 1 defense in the league. The Niners couldn't block Aaron Donald. He was not going to have a pretty game. He needed to find a way to win ugly. And I mean, obviously he had a great defensive performance. It wasn't him, but he needed to not lose that game. And there were a lot of ways he could have lost that game. Getting hit by Aaron Donald, he could have fumbled. He could have thrown more picks. The one pick he threw was tipped. Hard to blame him for that one.
That wasn't on him.
It wasn't on him. So my question to you is, what do you think of Nick Mullens now?
I think the same thing I thought about him week 1.
Yeah.
Physically gritty. First, let's talk about the positives. Gritty, competitive, cares so much. You can tell how much this means to him. He really wants it. You love that about him. Definitely just a guy you want to root for, right?
Also physically tough. He gets smacked, and he's never missed any time. Gets smacked, dude.
Yeah, but I think he's, to me, another guy where he kind of gets himself. He kind of takes hits.
But that doesn't make him not tough. Fine.
Sure.
He is tough. Yes.
Sure.
And that's a big deal because Jared Goff isn't. And there's a lot of guys making $35 million a year who aren't. So that's important.
But for me, the thing is he's limited physically, and it really shows. And we can talk about the offensive line play a lot, but you know what? Offensive line play is just not good in the NFL. There's 2 good offensive lines, in my opinion, and maybe 3. It's the Indianapolis Colts, and they lost Anthony Costanzo for who knows how long to a knee injury yesterday. There's the New Orleans Saints, who have the first round offensive line, and even they have gotten whipped at times this season, right? Like the Niners defensive line put the thing on the New Orleans Saints offensive line, and then you got the Buffalo Bills, who aren't the best run blocking offensive line, but they're pretty good in pass protection, and they have but the offensive line play, I think because I get to watch a little more of all the NFL games every week just because I don't have a job. I'm a student. So, I'm watching all these teams. The offensive line play is horrible. Justin Herbert's putting up all these numbers. The Chargers' offensive line is every bit as bad, if not much worse, than the 49ers line. It is horrible. It is horrible.
Dude, hold on. Mike McGlinchey, Colton McKivitz, Daniel Brunskill, that triumvirate, it's pretty bad, dude.
Do you know who's on the Chargers line? Because I don't even know it off the top of my head. I just know it's not very.
But I bet you no one's ever heard of Colton McKivitz outside of the Bay Area. I mean, dude. Brunskill's doing okay, but McGlinchey has been so bad. The right guard spot has been so bad. I mean, they it's not like they stink, dude. It could be better. You could do better than Colton McKivitz.
Maybe.
Who the hell's Colton McKivitz? Tom Compton?
I agree. They could have improved this offensive line.
They really took a step down from Mike Person last year,
right? Somehow. Line play is bad. Even the Chiefs, go watch. I don't know if you got to watch the game yesterday, but I was kind of peeking at that one on my phone while watching the Niners game because there was just a lot of moments where the Niners game was losing my engagement a little bit, and the Chiefs game with all the storylines of the fact that Tyreek Hill was just going bananas in the first quarter.
Well, let's stick with Mullens. I see what you're saying. The thing with Mullens is he can't throw off his back foot. Let's be specific. He can't throw off his back foot. Which means
he struggles to throw it away.
He can't throw the ball. Yeah, he needs to step into his throws. And if he's facing a really good pass rush and he doesn't have great pass protection, he's going to struggle. Even Jimmy Garoppolo, when he's fully healthy and he can rip it, can make throws off his back foot. And I think you need that ability, and you need the ability to run to be a top-level quarterback. No one is looking at Nick Mullens and mistaking him for a top-level quarterback. He definitely has limitations. But the point is, if the Niners are going to have a screen passing game, then he can operate.
He can't turn the ball over, though. That's the problem. He can't turn it over. That's my big problem with him, right?
But he didn't turn the ball over yesterday. I mean, he did, but it wasn't his fault. And
right. The one that he threw 3 more that could have been picked, but weren't picked. So
which ones?
He threw the one that he didn't. He basically got whacked, and he took a shot to Reed on 3.
Reed stopped his route. I'm not going to put that all on Mullens. You got to put that up.
It was a bad.
But that's not. That's a different issue. Whether it's the right read doesn't mean it's his fault or it should have been picked. The wide receiver has to not cut off his route. Can't do that.
Well,
he's running a double move. I mean, he's not a clear out route. He's not a decoy.
To be
fair, you got to run your route.
I don't know the exact play, so I don't know if they have if they're in 3 deep, cut the route. I don't know all those details. I don't actually even put that one that much on him. Kyle Shanahan didn't really put it on him after the game much because it's kind of just an opportunity ball, and he took the shot, and the guy dropped it, so we got away with it. There was one more to John Johnson, I think, over the middle of the field that he totally missed him. He was back.
John Johnson made a really nice pass breakup, but he didn't get 2 hands on the ball.
I think he hit him in the chest.
I think he dove across. Anyway,
4 people that he ripped away, but there was one more. But the point is, that's what really worries me. That propensity to turn the ball over a little. That really worries me. Jimmy had this problem, and I think it's expounded with Mullens. And the thing for Mullens is that unfortunately he has less physical gifts than the other guys who get away with these types of things. I do think I think he's fine, right, at the end of the day. I think he did his job yesterday, and he won that game. He was gritty. He was fine, and I think he did his job.
I thought he managed the game really well. I actually, one of the things that I thought was good about his performance is that he didn't really force very many things. He didn't put a bunch of balls in harm's way. He basically managed that game. I mean, he missed Jordan Reed over the middle with a high throw. Okay, people miss passes. That was bad. But really, he had a very mature, safety-first, cautious game, and that's what was required. And what's, I think, promising for the Niners moving forward is if you have Debo Samuel on the field, you can play that way. You don't really have to take a lot of high-risk throws. You can just give him the freaking ball and let him do his thing.
That 100% agree with Debo Samuel, most important player on this offense.
Give him the ball. You don't have to make difficult, low percentage throws.
But again, it comes down to that's where it just bothers me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think my evaluation at the end of the day is exactly what I thought of him before the season, and it's what I've thought of him. He's a competent backup. You went as far as to say that he was the best backup in the NFL yesterday. I heard that for sure. I don't agree with that.
Hold on. Let's just recap what Nick Mullens did yesterday. He was going against the #1 defense in the league. He didn't have Brandon Ayuk or George Kittle. He had a bottom tier offensive line, and he won on the road. That's a big deal. I don't really care what his numbers are, really. I mean, he won. He had 77 yards through the air. Okay.
I mean, wins aren't really a quarterback stat. I mean, I think we've driven that point home with Jimmy Garoppolo constantly.
When he loses, it's a stat. It's on his record. Losses are a quarterback stat. I mean, you can lose that game. He could have lost that game in any number of ways, and he didn't. He could have. Quarterbacks can lose the game more easily than anyone else.
I mean, but that concept to me is it's like every player has an opportunity to lose at points in every game.
Dude, the quarterback touches the ball every snap. It goes through him every play. The quarterback touches the ball every play. Goes through him every play.
That's not what we do with Jimmy Garoppolo either, right? Like
I gave Jimmy Garoppolo a B for beating the Rams and throwing a bunch of shovel passes and 44 yards through the air. I didn't care that it was basically like quarterbacking made easy, quarterbacking for dummies. They had lost a couple games in a row. They needed that win. He won. I gave him a B. I thought it was the easiest quarterbacking win I'd ever seen. It was still a B. And when I compared what he did compared to what Mullens did on the road, no Kittle, no Ayuk, B+. That's the way I looked at it. I mean, sure, Jimmy Garoppolo had 3 touchdown passes. 2 of them were shovel passes. 1 was George Kittle running 50 yards after the catch. Great, dude, good job, B. But Nick Mullens, the degree of difficulty was higher.
I didn't give Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not grading, but I didn't think he played particularly. I think we had a show after that Monday where I think both of us ad nauseum talked about how, at least I did, that he didn't play particularly well. And this win is not, he didn't come back because he just dumped it off to Debo a bunch of times. So I think I've been pretty consistent there with the fact that I didn't think Jimmy did a lot. And I didn't think, I mean, again, like, Mullens,
he did enough to win a game they needed to win, which I got credit for. I'm not going to nitpick a guy to death when a guy pulls out a must-win game under difficult circumstances.
I'm not nitpicking, am I? I'm just saying wins aren't directly correlated to the quarterback. They're not.
Well, no, it's a team sport, but it is the win-loss record does go on every quarterback's record. Every quarterback stat sheet, it does.
That is unfortunate. It's an unfortunate reality that's been driven into how football is evaluated. Look at Justin Herbert. His record is not any indication of how good the guy is playing. It's an indication of their coaching, right? It's an indication of their talent around him, but it's not about how good Justin Herbert is.
Again, though, you play to win the game. You don't play to amass a good quarterback rating. Nick Mullens was not going to come away from that game.
He wins that game because Kyle Shanahan is his coach. The same way Jimmy Garoppolo wins a lot of games because Kyle Shanahan is his coach.
Yeah, but CJ Beathard wouldn't have won that game.
Okay,
a lot of quarterbacks would have lost that game.
That doesn't say much. Like, you're comparing him to a quarterback who you don't think should even be in the NFL.
I think you get credit for going on the road and beating a playoff team. That
I agree.
I think you do. I think you do.
Agree.
You know,
I think but I still think that's not going to change where my evaluation of him is. To me, he's still the same player he was 2 weeks ago.
How many backup quarterbacks could have gone into LA and beaten Aaron Donald in the Rams?
I mean, we'd have to go chart because Matt Moore last year with Andy Reid as his coach beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, who went 13-3 and lost in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, but this was the number one defense in the league. You're facing Aaron Donald, and your team can't block him. How many backup quarterbacks are going to win that game? A lot of backup quarterbacks would lose that game in the first half.
I would have to go back and watch every single game that the Rams played and who was the coach, because there's a lot more context into this. Look, I don't want to rip on Nick Mullens. I really don't. He's solid. He's made a career for himself. That's awesome. He's a guy I definitely want to cheer for. I'm definitely hoping he pulls this out for the 49ers. But the point is that I'm not going to go gaga and change my evaluation of him after this game. And I'm definitely not going to go gaga and change my evaluation of him after the Philly game. To me, it's consistent. He is who he is.
I'm not going gaga over him, but they wouldn't be alive right now without him. They would have no chance to make the playoffs if they didn't have him on his team. If it was just CJ Beathard or any other random backup, they'd be dead right now. And it's good that they have such a backup quarterback, even if Niner fans are a little disappointed because I guess they think I built him up or something. I mean, when he was struggling in the mid-second quarter and Eric Crocker took shots at me, I thought it was real funny because it's like, dude, first of all, it's like, you did this, Grant. It's your fault. You said he was going to be great. And now people are just mad at you. It's like, first of all,
well, I mean, that's
the second quarter. He's going to win.
I'll defend you on that. You have nothing to do with what Nick Mullens is or anything. Your job is to give your opinion, and you give your opinion. So that should be way besides the point, right? Like, I don't think there should be anything to it. It's not your fault, Like, I jokingly got on you earlier on this show, like, it's your fault that Jimmy Ward. No, it's not your fault. You give your opinion. It's other people's fault with how they run with it. My thing is, that's not your fault. That's absolutely not your fault. I 100% agree with you there. But my thing is that with oh crap, I just totally forgot.
See, the thing about Vish that you don't understand is he sleeps about 4 hours a night. This dude's hitting me. He lives in Chicago. He's hitting me up at like 11 at night. I'm like, Vish, go to sleep. And then he's up first thing in the morning. So yeah, it's all right. Sorry. It's okay. It'll come back.
Wait. What were we talking about with Mullens real quick?
How great he is, how he's the best quarterback in the league, how he's going to lead the Niners to the Super Bowl.
What I did want to say is, look at, like, a lot of it has to do with who your offensive play caller is and everything. Like, you can say that he saved this team, but he's 1-2 right now in the games he has to win. There's still a long way for this team to go. He did his job yesterday. Outstanding. Props to him. But look at the Saints without Drew Brees, right? Teddy B went 5-0 last year, and he beat the Seattle Seahawks on the road, and people still were very measured with their credit. I think Grant Cohn would still say that Nick Mullens is a better backup quarterback than Teddy B. Taysom Hill is doing it right now, and I think that has a lot to do with Sean Payton more than Taysom Hill.
Nick Mullens isn't better than Teddy B.
Is he better than Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill's a starting quarterback right now.
So is Nick Mullens.
Is he better than Taysom Hill? Is he better than Taysom Hill?
Because I would say no. That's me.
I say he is. I think he's better than Taysom Hill, yeah. Taysom Hill's on a stacked offense. He gets to play with Michael Thomas, Jared Cook, Emmanuel Sanders, Alvin Kamara. Yeah, I mean, Nick Mullens would be pretty good in that offense. He'd be doing it differently, but there's so many short passes in that. That's a really good offensive line, too. Yeah, he'd be better.
Do you think Raheem Mostert's a top 10 running back?
Yeah, but again, he hasn't had Kittle. He hasn't had Ayuk. I mean, he just got Debo back yesterday. He had to play a game with River Craycraft. He had a game where his number one receiver was Richie James Jr.
Right after that game, right?
I mean, he really hasn't had the whole complementary weapons that Jimmy Garoppolo had most of last season. But anyway.
I mean, yeah, but Garoppolo also didn't have his two tackles and stuff. I don't even want to compare him to Garoppolo because I don't think that should be the conversation, right? We're trying to evaluate what Nick Mullens did. And for me personally, I thought he did an excellent job yesterday. I'm so happy he pulled that out. He's gritty. He's tough. He's a competitor. Definitely cheer for the guy. Like, he's the guy you root for. But I didn't change my opinion of him because of what happened yesterday. That's just me.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's easy to have like an ironclad opinion of a guy who's had like 10 career starts unless he's lost all of them but one, like CJ Beathard. I think we're learning about Nick Mullens every time he plays. And that was like the most pressure he's ever been in. I mean, he was under a lot of pressure against Philly. It was week 4. If he lost this game, the season's over. It was a must-win game in the truest sense of it being a must-win game, and he won it, period.
I'll push back. Like, you wrote off Beathard, right? Do you think Mullens would have survived going through what Beathard went through in 2017?
Yes.
You talked about getting hit yesterday. Beathard was getting hit 10 times more. Who was on that offensive line? Eric Magnuson was starting games.
He's better than CJ Beathard. He's beaten Russell Wilson. He's beaten Jared Goff. He's beaten good teams, dude. CJ Beathard stinks. I'm sorry. Guys, I'm not going to let anyone come on my show and say that CJ Beathard is anything but bad. That's the one rule I have on my show. I'm not
sitting here saying CJ Beathard is a good quarterback. But what I'm saying is that you're giving Mullens nuance that you didn't provide for Beathard.
Dude, CJ just loses. He's never done anything good. He beat the Giants once. No. CJ should not be in the league. Nick Mullens beat Russell Wilson in 2018. That's amazing. Now he's beaten Jared Goff. He's had big wins on his resume. He's a legit NFL player. He's accomplished things. CJ hasn't. I'm sorry. CJ almost beat the Green Bay Packers one time at Lambeau. That's the greatest accomplishment of his career. They almost beat the Chargers one time. CJ. No, he's a better ping pong player than football player. CJ.
Well, I don't know all those things, so I'm not going to say those things about CJ. My point is what he had to go through in 2017 was brutal. The amount of hits he took, I felt horrible for the guy. I really did.
Hey, what every quarterback's going through this season has been brutal too. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't last 5 quarters.
I don't think it's even a comparison to what they had to go through in 20.
I think it's a comparison. Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't survive behind this line. He made it 5 games to the 2017 line. He was fine. This year, quarter number 5 out. So it's comparable, or it might be. It's arguable. But look, we're an hour in, and we still have to talk about Shanahan, Saleh, a lot of stuff. I mean, we want to talk about these coaches, right? Which one do you want to talk about?
Let's start with Robert Saleh.
Let's talk about Saleh. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, this is one. Robert, once again, I feel like I've been doing it every week this season, but I got to tell you, I didn't think you were this good. Grant was right. You're absolutely this good. You're awesome. Like, what you're doing right now is absolutely outstanding. The growth that he's shown since the first time he came here, the amount of things that he does, it's fantastic. His game plans always seem to be on point. He's going to get a well-deserved head coaching job this offseason. So the thing I wanted to focus on with Robert Saleh is that the game plan to me that the Niners seem to employ when they play the Rams is that they shut down Cooper Kupp. That's what they do.
Yes. Explain to people, because the question people have is they understand Robert Saleh has Sean McVay's number. He shut him down multiple times. What's going on? 4 times in a row. What is going on?
So to me, what they do is, I don't know, but when I watch it on TV, it looks like they don't let Cooper, at least yesterday especially, it looks like they don't let Cooper Kupp get free releases. They're physical with Cooper Kupp. They put different people on him, right? Sometimes it's Mosley, sometimes it's Jimmy Ward, and they confuse Goff that way because Goff needs help from McVay at the line of scrimmage, and they disrupt the Rams' pace. So what they do is that because they disrupt Cooper Kupp at the line, negative plays means McVay can't rally them to the line quickly, get set up, and start picking apart on how the defense is lined up and start playing with pace. The Rams' offense is about tempo. It's like the Chip Kelly offense, but it's a little different because McVay is better than Chip Kelly by a lot.
Yes.
It's all about
Chip
tempo.
Kelly would just call the same play every time. That's how he plays.
It's not exactly like
inside zone. Yeah.
Right. It's about tempo, and they totally eliminate and disrupt that tempo by disrupting the timing with Cooper Kupp. And I did some research on Cooper Kupp. So let's talk Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp has played the Niners. He only played them once in 2017 and 2018. Okay. Let's talk about what he did in 2019 and 2020. Against the Niners in the last 4 games, he has 13 catches for 100 yards on 24 targets.
Say that again. Against the Niners in the last how many games?
In the last 4 games. Last 4 division
4 games.
4-0.
2 seasons.
Right.
This is one of the best wide receivers in the league. What were the numbers again?
He's 13 catches, 100 yards on 24 targets.
No touchdowns.
10 yards per catch. But look,
no touchdowns.
It gets better. He has a 54% catch rate when he plays the Niners. Cooper Kupp's catch rate when he plays any other team over the last 2 years is 70% in 2019 and 69% in 2020.
Wow.
This is unbelievable. Again, credit to Jimmy Ward too and Robert Saleh. My guy Jimmy Ward.
And Jamar Taylor, his career may have ended last night. So sorry, Jamar.
Absolutely.
You did great.
That was just as a side note, that was horrible to see. That was awful.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the Rams offense. Since 2018, right, eliminating Cooper Kupp's rookie season, when they win, Cooper Kupp has 132 catches on 174 targets for 1,276 yards. That's insane when they win. That's an average of 5 catches for 55 yards a game, meaning that they go to him basically on money downs. Against the Niners, he averages 3 catches for 25 yards a game in the last 4 games on just an average of 6 targets. So that means his targets is only going down about 1 a game, but he's losing 2 catches and he's losing about 30 yards. It's insane what they do to Cooper Kupp.
Yes.
Goff is very, very reliant on Cooper Kupp. This season, the question was, what is wrong with the Rams offense? One was Todd Gurley got injured, but then CJ Anderson gave him a spark, but they really, like, not having Cooper Kupp really hurt Goff's production. What they do to stop Cooper Kupp is fantastic. This is terrific.
Yeah, and what's cool, what speaks really well about Robert Saleh, because there is so, as East Bay Chris says, what a data find. There's so much data when you're game planning to stop an offense. And there's a lot going on with the Rams offense. I mean, there was Gurley for years. They were a good run game. To be able to accurately pinpoint the one thing that you need to take away more than anything is high-level stuff. I mean, a lot of coordinators aren't even there, can't even get there. They're like, you know what, we're going to do what we do and take away explosives and make you and check it. No, Saleh does that, but he's also like, I understand. I see you twice a year. I've done my homework. It's Kupp. It's freaking Kupp. If we stop Kupp, we stop you. If you remember a couple of years ago when they faced the Bears, they lost to the Bears, but they basically exposed Matt Nagy back in 2018 when people still thought he might be good. And what they did was they shut down Tariq Cohen. Saleh figured it out. If you shut down Tariq Cohen, that is the explosive element in their offense. They got nothing left after that. They're not going to beat you with Allen Robinson. So he's been able to do this, and he's doing it more consistently. And, you know, Sean McVay is going to have to, like, reimagine that offense for him really to get anything against Robert Saleh in the future, because Saleh's got it. He has it. It goes through Kupp. You take Kupp away. All they have is 7-yard out throws to Robert Woods.
Sean McVay is going to have to start putting out leaks about his starting quarterback.
I know, right? Okay, let's stick with Saleh. Where do you think – I mean, do you think he gets the Lions job? Do you think he'll have his pick? What's going on?
If I'm him, why would you want the Lions job? Your stock is an all-time high. Do what Kyle Shanahan did when he first came to the Niners. He talked about it. He said, when I want to take a head coaching job, I want to take it for an organization that I believe is going to give me a chance to win. Only few organizations in the NFL give you a chance to win. The Lions, they don't give their coaches, as bad as Patricia was, like Jim Caldwell did a fantastic job to go 9-7 3 years. They don't give their coaches opportunities to win. It's a bad organization. They've hurt a lot of bad players. If you're Robert Saleh, that's not where you want to go.
Well, hold on. Before we move on from the Lions, let me just argue it real quick, and you tell me if I'm wrong. The reasons that he could be interested in the Lions, he's from Detroit. He's from Michigan. It would be a homecoming for him. And just like the Cleveland last year, which he was interested, he would have taken the Cleveland job. And Cleveland's similar. That's a terrible organization. But it's a talented roster, right? And usually when you're getting a first-time job as a head coach, you're not getting a talented roster. You're getting Jacksonville. You know, you're getting something awful. So in that sense, you got your favorite quarterback in the league, Matt Stafford. You got a couple good wide receivers. That's about it. But you bring in Robert Saleh to rebuild the defense. Maybe bring in Mike McDaniel to rebuild the run game. Maybe you can compete right away.
See, but you got a division with Aaron Rodgers. You got a division with Bears defense, and you got a division with – I just think it's a bad place for him to go. Like, I get it. Michigan guy, Detroit job, probably his dream. He was probably a Lions fan growing up. But if I'm him, like, what happened to Gus Bradley, right? Like, what happens to these guys is that it happened to Raheem Morris in Tampa. If you're this young, bright guy and you've had this track record and you go to this horrible organization and you basically get handicapped, they don't allow you to get back immediately and give you another coaching job if you're a defensive guy. You're not at a case where they give you the job. They give you that
under the second chance. You got to be careful. Yeah, you got to
build yourself. Look at Steve Spagnuolo with the St. Louis Rams, right? That was horrible. He had Sam Bradford, who was always hurt. He couldn't find an offensive coordinator, and he never got another shot.
Let me argue real quick, though. Strike while the iron's hot. You got to strike while the iron's hot, too, though.
And I think the iron is hot enough where he's going to have multiple places. And I just don't think if he's got an option, say no to the Lions, save yourself.
Wow. Okay. I just feel like that's a team that's really underperforming. That's a team that should not be 6-10. That's a team that should be much closer to 9-7, what they were doing with Jim Caldwell And I look at them. Robert Saleh is clearly confident. I think he thinks he could win right away. And he looks at that roster and say, oh yeah, I can turn that around right now, as opposed to going to a place like Jacksonville and trying to do the brick by brick and then maybe getting fired before you've assembled enough bricks.
Every coach thinks that until they go to the place that ruins it for them. Also, the quarterback is in place. Doesn't have to worry about drafting a guy. Doesn't have to worry about developing a guy. The guy is there. And as you've so eloquently put it, he's the best of all time. So I'm just saying look, if he wanted the job with Baker Mayfield, I think Matt Stafford's a whole lot better than Baker Mayfield. Well, absolutely. But the surroundings are, I think with Detroit, they got the Kenny Golladay contract coming up. I think Marvin Jones Jr. is a free agent. So I think
you're right. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of unknowns with there. To me, if the opportunity presents itself, the job he should covet, and it sounds kind of like ironic that I'm pointing this out when I just went on this rant about bad organizations, but I think he should look at the Chargers job, right?
Oh God,
right. That would be bad organizations. But to me, if the amount of talent that's on that defense and with Justin Herbert at quarterback, I think that in terms of giving yourself the best shot to win, if you're thinking win now, that's very similar to the Browns in terms of, because he's going to go there with Joey Bosa locked up, Melvin Ingram locked up, Kenneth Murray locked up, Derwin James coming back from an injury. The two corners, Casey Hayward signed, Chris Harris Jr. is signed. They traded Desmond King, but they still haven't. They theoretically have a great defense on paper, right? There's so much talent. It's just, can the guys stay healthy? And then offensively, you have Justin Herbert. Hopefully they re-sign Mike Williams. Hunter Henry is good. Keenan Allen is phenomenal. Like, that would be the place where I would look at. Eckler is fantastic. That's the place I would look at, is say, like, that's similar to the Browns. If you were looking at the Browns, like, even if you have bad organization, there's talent there. With the Lions,
right, the Chargers aren't a better organization than the Lions. I mean, the Chargers are notoriously cheap.
Yeah, they're equally bad.
But as you said, I mean, all Saleh has to do is hit up Nick Bosa and be like, hey, Nick, can you call Joey real quick and tell him to hit up Dean and be like, yo, Dean, Robert Saleh's really good. Nick likes him. I vouch. I mean, that's a quick little game of telephone tap.
Will they pay the premium though for Robert Saleh too? That's another question. Because I think,
and will they pay Anthony Lynn to not coach? That's the question. Or will they just let his contract expire next year? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. I mean, hey, if the Chargers open up, I think everyone would want that job. They have like the number 3 offense in the league, or they did last week. They have very highly rated offense and defense, and yet they're 3-8. Anthony Lynn looks like a very nice guy, but dude, 4 years he had a 12-4 season, and now he can't win anymore. If I were the Chargers, I'd fire him.
Yeah, and I really like Anthony Lynn. When you hear him talk, he's another guy. It's like Nick Mullens. You know how I said earlier, it's really tough not to root for him. Anthony Lynn's just another guy. You look at him and you say, I want that guy to be successful. Just the way he talks, he seems so genuine and everything. He just feels like might be a little in over his head. There's a little too much going on for him to manage. Or maybe he's not. Maybe I'm observing this totally wrong, and there's other
results aren't there. End of story. It's a results business, man.
Right.
He's had 4 years. It's nothing personal. It's a results business. There's a lot of people that want these jobs, and there's a lot of people who are qualified, like Robert Saleh, like Eric Bieniemy. There's a lot of guys out there. Yeah, come on. So, do you want to talk Shanahan?
Let's talk Shanahan.
Let's talk Shanahan, because you're always more. Hey, I gave him an apology last night. Was it sufficient? Did you see it?
I don't think you were the one that had to apologize to Shanahan, right?
I had questions about him as a head coach, and he's young as a head coach. And a game like yesterday is a defining moment. And dude, I mean, that was legendary what he did in that.
That was outstanding. But
yeah,
what I remember when we came on, you were pretty nice to him after the Saints game. Maybe the Packers game was a little harsher than what I would have done, but I thought overall I
was mad about River Craycraft. But that's like, I nitpick Kyle because I have a lot of respect for him. I'm like, dude, there's no way that a guy like you with River Craycraft, I mean, come on. But that's it. No, he's a hell of a play caller, and he's getting the most out of his players.
That was outstanding. He had the team ready to play. He had the idea of the game plan was so exactly perfect, as it always is. And he was able to adjust little things on the fly like he always does. But the thing was that they executed. And I love that last drive. The offense had sputtered a little bit. Nick Mullens was taking hits and stuff. He's first credit to him, right? I do want to make it clear. I do want to give credit to Nick Mullens for that last drive. whatever the throws were, he stood tall and he made the throws accurately to
under
Debo
pressure,
Samuel,
under like mental pressure.
Right. He
Yes.
made them. That was fantastic. And two, just Kyle Shanahan understanding your team, understanding what you needed at the game, and understanding that all you had to do in this game was just figure out, how can I keep getting Debo the ball? Can I keep feeding Debo? And he thoroughly executed that. That was awesome. I thought the Niners coaching across the board just puts on a clinic every single week. It's like whether every single position coach feels like they do a phenomenal job preparing every single player within that position. That just speaks to how well the coaches coach the coaches. It's something that Kyle Shanahan has talked about. It's something his dad talks about. You have to be a coach not only of your players, but you have to coach your coaches to teach your philosophy. And I think the testament to how good this staff is, one, it's very good because he got Bobby Turner and John Benton, all who are top of the class, or John Embry. John Benton's also pretty good, but John Embry is the real stud here. But two, it's also the fact that he just is a phenomenal coach.
Yeah. And one more thing about Kyle Shanahan. Big picture, excellent coach. Let's go into the details of what he did yesterday. He had the right game plan, but the game plan wasn't enough. They would have lost that game if they didn't pick up 4th and 1 on the final drive.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, their season came down to one play. Not in a sense. It did. That's a lot of pressure. And you know what? That's been his worst. One of the worst things he's done this year is play calling in short yardage. He's really hasn't gotten it right or found anything that's worked.
Game because of last year, because they missed a 4th and 1 and then Lamar took the ball and
it's been an issue for him. It's been an issue for him. And we've been on this show and I've been real clear about it. Like, go to use check. You know, you have the best fullback in the game, use him. And I've been saying that for weeks. I'm not trying to take credit here. You know that whether or not Juszczyk got the first down, I was in with that play call. I liked it. It was the right call. And he got the first down because he's a stud. He made a second effort play. And all I want to say is Kyle Shanahan made the right call with the game on, with the season on the line. You know, I respect. That's really good.
Well, first of all, you do deserve the credit. You are the quality controls guy.
Well, thank you so much.
So I'll pass you back to that. But
you're honorary quality control just by you know.
Oh, by association.
Well, yeah, by association. Right.
Yeah, thank you. But what I do want to say is the thing again is that, like, with the Juszczyk thing, if you remember in 2017, they used to run the Juszczyk, like the fullback run, a lot in short yardage, and it would never work. And everybody would be like, "Why did you pay this guy so much money? It never worked."
That's true.
Point out how crazy it is when execution.
If I remember real quickly though, the concept of the play was a little different. They'd have them sort of be like offset to one side, and it'd be like a long development run to the other. Yeah, that I didn't like that. That was like getting him going east-west. Just let him hit it quick up the middle, and that's what they did. But you're right. I forgot that he couldn't pick up a first down to save his life.
No,
like the play call though.
No, but yeah, but the point is, it's crazy to me how execution can totally change what people say about someone. That just tells you that football is such a game of inches, right? Like,
you're absolutely right. But all I'm saying is, I would not have criticized Kyle Shanahan if Kyle Juszczyk hadn't executed. You know, I would have said, you know what, you went down with your best play call. It wasn't your year. Good job, but it worked, and you know it worked because it's the right call.
Right.
Because Kyle Juszczyk's really good.
Right. And I have no doubt that you would have been consistent there.
Yeah. Imagine me criticizing Kyle Shanahan for giving the ball to Kyle Juszczyk on 4th and 1. I mean, I would have been the biggest horse's ass to do something like that. So I think we're done. We're about an hour and 15 in, and I got to write.
Take a few questions. Maybe.
You think you want to? All right. If you got some questions, but I can't do it too much because I do got to write an article about the Arizona 49ers and their escapades across the country. Let's see what we got. Vish, don't feel bad that you dominated Grant. You're outgrowing him quick. Hey, man.
Nah.
Hey, man. He's got his own. He's got his own show. He's got more than 1,000 subscribers. He is, dude. He's about to leave the nest.
It's all really thanks to you. I really appreciate you. Like, I do want to say this about you. You're one of the nicest people I've met. You're really a good person. I think that people don't get an opportunity to really talk to you. Like, they just see you on the show and you're just the 49ers reporter. But Grant is really an awesome guy. If you ever get a chance to meet him, he's really one of the more genuine and kind people I've met in my life. He really is. You should.
Thank you. Oh, now I'm blushing. I appreciate you, Vish. You're a good guy. You're a great guy too. I really enjoy being friends with you. Thank you. Well, thank you. Okay, we got some questions coming in. Hold on.
You got some cash questions.
I got some cash questions. You know I'm gonna answer that. What do you think of Fangio back as DC if fired? Ooh, is he gonna get fired? Fangio? You know I love Fangio.
I think firing him would be, first of all, an absolute mistake by John Elway. You got to let your head coaches ride it out. You got to stick through it. They've had probably as bad a situation as the Niners in terms of just injuries and everything. They feel like the 2018 Niners to me. I don't know. I'm not convinced at all with Drew Lock. I like the talent. I'm not sure if I will ultimately like the player, the decision-making process, all of that. But they have so much talent where if they can get something serviceable at quarterback, maybe they're the team that gets Matthew Stafford or Matt Ryan. I think that Fangio can make it work. He's still one of the best defensive game planners out there. I don't think he would come back to the 49ers and ultimately take that DC job. I don't know if he would, but it would be awesome. And Denver, please don't fire him. That would be a big mistake.
He's in year 2. Von Miller got hurt. I mean, he went 7-9 in his first year with no quarterback. I don't think that would be the right move. If he doesn't make the playoffs next year, that's a different story. But I don't think Vic Fangio will be available. And it's a good question. Who would replace Robert Saleh if he leaves? I'm not necessarily certain it'll be Dan Quinn. What has Dan Quinn done in the last 10 years that would give him? I mean, maybe he would get the next Robert Saleh. I mean, look what Sean McVay just did. They got rid of a big-name defensive coordinator and brought in a guy that no one's heard of but had pedigree. He'd been with Vic Fangio, and now Brandon Staley's doing a hell of a job. Maybe Saleh knows a guy who knows a guy who's 37.
For me, it's 2 guys.
Okay.
So if they're going to go in-house, I think DeMeco Ryans is probably the name that's been touted. So that could be where they go. But for me, it's Kyle Shanahan's buddy. It's the guy I thought would be the original defensive coordinator of the 2017 49ers, the interim head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and that's Raheem Morris. I think Raheem Morris was the reason Dan Quinn even got to survive one more year. He saved his job last year by switching from receivers coach and taking the defensive coordinator responsibility and changing that defense. He's made that Atlanta team, look way more competent than Dan Quinn ever did without Kyle Shanahan this year.
They just destroyed the Raiders yesterday.
Yes.
What was that?
Yeah, he's phenomenal, and I think he would be I don't know if he would be a 1-for-1 replacement by Saleh, but I think he could really approximate that value.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Kyle and Raheem Morris go back. They're friends. If there's an opening, if Morris wants it, I'm sure he'd be the first choice. Because remember, as smart as Kyle Shanahan was to identify Robert Saleh and give him the job, he was the third choice. I mean, he wanted Vic Fangio, and then he wanted Gus Bradley, and then he settled for Gus Bradley's heir apparent, which just happened to be maybe the best call. So it worked out, and that's life. But yeah, I mean, he probably would want Raheem Morris first.
Right.
And he might have plan B's and C's.
The story was that he was interviewing Saleh for the linebackers coach, right? And then when Bradley went, he was like, well, Saleh's interview was fantastic, so I'm going to hire him as the DC.
I think what Saleh said was, Kyle, please just give me an interview and be open-minded, please. And Kyle said, okay. And it was so good that he was in the running. I think Saleh said, look, just give me an interview. So he's very, that was pretty cool. What are your thoughts about Nick Mullens being a bridge quarterback? He didn't do more or less than Jimmy did in the playoffs, and we still didn't have Kittle or Ayuk. I mean, you know how I feel about it.
I think he could be a possible bridge quarterback. If they draft a guy, this is the kind of quarterback you want as your bridge quarterback. Just a guy who's been in the system for 4 years. He's a pro's pro. He wants it, so he would be a good bridge quarterback. Absolutely, yeah.
I think he'd be fantastic. Also, I think he needs to be on this team next year. I'm not saying he needs to be first string, second string. I think you pick up his restricted tender, keep him on the team. I mean, he seems like whether or not he's the best backup quarterback in the league, he's the best backup quarterback for this team. He has value. Keep him around. I mean, I would also be interested in bringing in a third guy. I would be interested in Alex Smith if he's available and cheap, but I'm not necessarily sure that Washington's going to get rid of him. We've talked about this on your show. He might stay on that team. Well, what better option do they have over there unless they can draft? They're not going to take Justin Fields.
And I've talked about this before too. I think did we talk about it on my show?
Yes.
Totally. I'm a guy who hates the idea of a bridge quarterback because I think that it's just a delay of the inevitable, which is just you're throwing the starter into the fire. If your bridge quarterback is Alex Smith, on the Chiefs, and you're confident that you're still a contender with him and he's a legitimate starter, then I think it's real. But if you're drafting a guy high and you believe that much in him, to me, you just got to throw him in there and figure it out. Because throwing him in there, to me, unless he's like totally not ready because of health reasons or because of his understanding of the system, there's no difference to me throwing him in week 1 instead of throwing him in week 3. Like what the Texans did with having a bridge quarterback, I think it was Tom Savage, and then
starting. That was a bad one.
Whack.
That was whack. That the technical term for that was whack. But I think what's going like this is a different situation, okay? And it's more like the Chiefs, because when Jimmy's healthy, they win. And if you're moving on from Jimmy, as you've said a lot of times, is that you got to improve the position. Now, I've said you don't necessarily have to, because the coach is on a 6-year contract and he can kind of do whatever the hell he wants. If he wants to take a step back before he takes 2 steps forward, that's his prerogative. But it's possible that they don't want to even try to sell that to the fans if they get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and they get a guy like Zach Wilson, who they like, but they just decide isn't ready week 1. They could compete with someone like Alex Smith because the rest of the team is so good, and they don't want to be 5-11 while Jimmy Garoppolo is 13-3 on the Patriots. Maybe that's the reason that you do it, just so that you are, not wasting a year of a really good roster with a kid who doesn't even feel comfortable under center yet. The same reason that the Patriots kept Jimmy Garoppolo on the bench. They had Tom Brady. But as Bill Belichick has said, he's like, he really wasn't ready to be under center. He hadn't done it in college. He benefited from staying on the bench, and we could afford to do that. The Texans couldn't afford to do it, and I think the Niners theoretically could.
Right.
Theoretically.
So there's actually a funny comment in here to respond to. My man Austin Cross says, over the last 2 months, I've decided that this is more important than my class. Well, no, actually what happened is over the last 2 months, conveniently, my professor for this particular class has kind of just disappeared. We've been trying to contact him. Our final exam is next Monday. He does not respond to anybody. We haven't had an assignment in a month. He's just disappeared. He's just gone MIA.
I don't think you're going to have that final. Hopefully you get grades, though. He's going to need to, submit some grades.
Yeah. We had our first exam. We've had we were supposed to have 5 projects. We had our first exam in September. We haven't had either of our exams or either of our projects graded. So my professor
possibly died. Should someone call?
No, he's alive.
He's alive.
Post, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good.
And sometimes he does do his synchronous sessions here too. But it's like, if we're not getting assignments and stuff, what's the point of the synchronous session?
I see people commenting on your earrings. I just want to say that when I was 20, I had 13 millimeter cubic zirconium earrings that cost $15. So I can't really.
You went 13?
I went for the full 13. I was so obnoxious.
Oh, I think
what are those? Are those 10s, 9s, 5s?
6?
Oh, so you're tasteful with your cubic zirconiums, or are those diamonds?
No, of course they're cubic.
No, I went full 13. I don't
know when I'm gonna be interviewing for actual jobs in like a year or two, so I don't know if I could just walk into the interview with these.
No, this is the end of the phase. You got to stop pretty soon. But I'm just saying, I had him at the same age, and I fully support him. I like him.
I appreciate that. If I get an endorsement from Grant Cohn, that's enough for me.
This was our best show because Vish and I legitimately disagreed. And the funny thing is, when we talk on the phone, this is how we talk. It can get a little bit like we can raise our voices a little bit. And when we go on the show, we always prepare like, we're going to say this and you're going to say this and you're going to say this. And I think we kind of sometimes take the argument out of it, but we kept it. It was organic. And I think it was our best stuff. So Vish,
I loved it. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, I actually think that our disagreement is better because, in my opinion, it's more natural when you're having a conversation to have disagreement.
Of course.
So much detail and so much open-endedness in football.
You don't call someone up and be like, hey, yeah. Hey, what do you think about that? Oh, yeah, I agree. Hey, good talk. Peace.
Yeah, everybody has
talk. Yeah.
And dude, your comment section is unbelievable. Your comment section is the best.
They're hilarious, man.
I've ever seen.
You are the biggest horse's ass, Grant. Agree. Well, maybe not the biggest. I mean, there's some big ones out there, but I like to think that my rump is pretty big.
The variety, you got Outsiders, who's my guy. You got Kevin Way, who's just basically giving everybody in the comment section issues. Then you got guys who are like all in your corner. And then you got different guys. I mean, this is an outstanding comment section. You guys are really awesome.
Yeah, we got guys writing in Arabic. We got guys arguing over who should be the moderator of this show.
We got Kevin Lang upset with my hair. Kevin, I just got a haircut, man. I thought it looked pretty good.
if when ESPN eventually picks up Mondays with Vish and Cohn Zone, and we have this weekly, and it replaces Around the Horn and Pardon the Interruption, which is just a matter of time, I'm going to make sure that ESPN puts the comment section on the screen and just bleeps out, like the bad words, because that's like 50% of the entertainment, not just us, but you guys over there are hilarious.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah. Please tune into my show with Blake too on Wednesday. We appreciate all of you guys. You guys are awesome. We'd love to have you guys in our comment section too.
Yeah. I forgot to put the link to his thing in the description, but I think most of you guys follow him already. And if you don't, follow Vish and Blake Sports. I'm going to put the description in a few minutes after we're done, and then in every description of the little videos I cut and post up. Yes, follow Vish. You want to. You already do probably. So continue to and like the stuff that he posts and watch the stuff that he posts, because you're going to learn from it. And the thing that's interesting about Vish is, while I know so much more about the 49ers than he does, he actually really knows the whole NFL in ways that I don't. So you'll learn from Vish about other teams, and you'll be smarter as a result. I'm smarter as a result of knowing Vish. Vish, thank you so much.
Blake's awesome too.
Oh, Blake is awesome too. Sorry about that. Blake is terrific. And you guys really have your own style, and it's really nice. So guys, watch it. And pretty soon he'll be monetizing, and you can give him tips too, but you have to watch his videos before he gets there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Take care.